She was tied up, drugged, taken in the middle of the night. Her boyfriend watched it happen, helpless. Then the kidnapper demanded money, sent proof she was alive. And just when everyone thought it was a real-life kidnapping, police made a shocking claim.
Breaking news. We have just confirmed that this woman's kidnap for ransom story is all a hoax.
They said it never happened. They called it a hoax. They accused the victim. They accused the man who reported it. They destroyed their lives. But days later, the fake victim reappeared, alive, and telling a story so detailed, so disturbing, it changed everything.
A decade after their nightmare began, facing the media isn't any easier for Denise and Aaron Quinn. Some of these are the same people who took law enforcement at their word when they claimed Denise and Aaron faked a harrowing home invasion kidnapping.
This is the case of Denise Huskins, a case so unbelievable, it was called the real-life Gone Girl. Before we continue, thousands of people watch these documentaries without subscribing. If you don't subscribe right now, YouTube's algorithm will never show you our content again. You won't see updates on Denise Huskins or tomorrow's investigation. We release cases daily at 7:30 p.m., but we can only reach you if you're subscribed. Please hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment your location below. It takes 1 second. Denise deserves her story told. Please help us. Denise Huskins was not someone you would expect to be at the center of a national controversy. She was calm, intelligent, and focused. A physical therapist by training, Denise lived a structured life. The kind of life built on routine, responsibility, and quiet ambition. She had close relationships, trusted easily, loved deeply, and at the time, she was in a relationship with a man named Aaron Quinn. Aaron was also disciplined, analytical, the kind of person who thought through situations logically. Together, they lived in Vallejo, a quiet city, suburban, the kind of place where nothing like this was supposed to happen. But on one night in March, everything changes. It starts in silence. Late at night, Denise and Aaron are asleep. Then suddenly, a light, a voice, commands being shouted. Before they can even process what's happening, intruders are inside the house. They're ordered not to move. Aaron is restrained first, his hands tied, his eyes covered, then Denise. But this wasn't random chaos. This was organized, calculated. The intruders speak calmly, methodically. They explain that this is a kidnapping. They say they've been watching them, studying them, planning this. And then, something even more disturbing happens. They force both of them to drink something. A liquid. They don't know what it is. But within minutes, their bodies begin to shut down. Aaron tries to stay conscious. He fights it, but he can't. The room fades. The last thing he hears is Denise being taken. Hours later, Aaron wakes up, still bound, still alone. The house is quiet again. Too quiet. Denise is gone. He manages to free himself, stumbles toward his phone, and calls the police. His voice is shaky, confused, terrified. He tells them everything. The intruders, the kidnapping, the drugs, the ransom, everything. Police arrive quickly, but something feels off. From the very beginning, they don't believe him. They question his timeline. They question his behavior. They question his story. Why didn't he fight back? Why did the kidnappers sound so calm? Why was everything so precise? And then the case takes its first shocking turn. Instead of treating Aaron as a victim, they begin treating him as a suspect. While the investigation begins, something else happens. Aaron receives emails from the kidnappers. They demand money. They include details only Denise could confirm. They even send proof of life. But law enforcement remains skeptical. To them, something isn't adding up. The story feels too scripted, too perfect, too cinematic. Behind the scenes, a narrative is forming, one that will soon go public, one that will destroy lives. Because instead of asking, what if this is real? They begin asking, what if this is fake? And then, they say it out loud. They compare it to a movie, a staged disappearance, a manipulative plan. They call it a real-life gone girl. And just like that, the victim becomes the suspect. The kidnapping becomes a lie, and the truth gets buried. If someone came to you with a story this detailed, would you believe them? Or would you think they were lying? Comment below. Do you think the police were right to doubt the story at this stage, or did they ignore something important? The investigation doesn't just stall. It shifts direction completely. From searching for a kidnapper to exposing what police believe is a staged crime. Detectives begin dissecting Aaron's story. Every word, every pause, every inconsistency. They interrogate him for hours. Without sleep, without clarity, they accuse him of killing Denise, of making the entire kidnapping up. But Aaron doesn't change his story. Not once. Then something happens. That should have changed everything. Denise reappears. Alive. Hundreds of miles away in Huntington Beach. She contacts her family and tells them she's been released. She gives a detailed account. Abduction, captivity, repeated assaults, blindfolds, threats, everything. But instead of relief, the response is disbelief. Police publicly announced that the kidnapping was a hoax. They accuse Denise of lying. They accuse Aaron of orchestrating it. Their reputations collapse overnight. The media picks it up and runs with it. The narrative is now set. Not victims, but liars. But what if the story wasn't fake at all? What if the real mistake was happening right in front of everyone? The moment Denise Huskins is found alive, everything should change. A missing person case becomes a rescue. A suspected homicide becomes a confirmed kidnapping. A victim returns. But that's not what happens. Instead, the narrative hardens. Police double down. Inside the interrogation room, Aaron Quinn is exhausted. He hasn't slept properly. He hasn't processed what happened. And now, he's being accused of murder. Detectives press him again. They tell him Denise is dead. They tell him they know he did it. They tell him to confess. But Aaron doesn't break. Because he knows something they refuse to accept. She's alive. Then the call comes. Denise has resurfaced. She's in Huntington Beach, hundreds of miles away from where she was taken. She contacts her father first. Her voice is steady, but shaken. She says she's been released, dropped off, left alone, and then she begins to describe what happened. She talks about being blindfolded almost the entire time, about being moved between locations, about hearing multiple voices, though she couldn't see faces, about threats, about control, and about something even more disturbing. She says the kidnapping was planned, targeted, not random. She describes the intruder as calm, organized, almost clinical. But when this information reaches authorities, it doesn't trigger urgency. It triggers doubt. Because to them, it still doesn't make sense. Why would kidnappers release her? Why would they leave evidence behind? Why was there no immediate ransom exchange? And so instead of adjusting their theory, they reinforce it. The police go public. At a press conference, they say something that will define this case for years. They compare it to Gone Girl, a staged disappearance, a fabricated crime, a manipulative story designed to mislead. And then, they say it directly. They believe Denise Huskins and Aaron Quinn are lying. Overnight, everything changes. The victims become suspects. The survivors become suspects. The media explodes. Headlines spread across the country. Kidnapping hoax. Gone girl case in real life. Couple fakes abduction. People start forming opinions. Without evidence. Without answers. And the damage is immediate. Friends pull away. Strangers judge. Online comments turn vicious. Instead of sympathy, they receive suspicion. Denise tries to tell her story, but every word is questioned. Aaron tries to defend himself, but no one listens. And quietly, behind all the noise, something crucial is happening. Evidence is being overlooked. Because once a narrative takes hold, it's hard to undo it. Investigators stop asking, Who did this? And start asking, how did they fake this? That shift changes everything. It means potential leads aren't followed. It means inconsistencies aren't explored. It means the real perpetrator is still out there, free, watching, waiting. And then, weeks later, something happens that cracks the entire case open. Not in Vallejo, not connected to Denise directly, but in another city, another home, another break-in. And this time, the victim calls the police immediately. This time, the story sounds familiar. Too familiar. A masked intruder. Restraints. Control. Planning. And suddenly, the impossible question becomes unavoidable. What if Denise was telling the truth the entire time? The second break-in doesn't just raise questions. It forces a comparison. Another home. Another woman. Another intruder. But this time, something is different. The victim reports it immediately. No confusion. No delay. Police respond fast. And this time, they listen. The details are chilling. The intruder enters quietly, uses restraints, moves with precision, speaks calmly, controls the environment completely. It's not random. It's practiced. And then investigators notice something they can't ignore. The method matches Denise Huskins' story almost exactly. The same level of planning, the same psychological control, the same eerie calmness. Suddenly, the narrative starts to shift. Because coincidences don't usually look this detailed. This isn't just similar. It's identical in behavior. And now, there's a suspect. A name begins to surface. A man with a past. A man with training. A man who knows exactly how to avoid detection. Matthew Muller, a former immigration attorney. Educated, disciplined, but living a double life. And when investigators dig deeper, what they find is disturbing. Muller has a history of break-ins, a pattern, late-night entries, targeting women, using fear as control. But here's what makes it worse. He wasn't some unknown figure. He was already on law enforcement's radar. And yet, no one connected him to Denise. Until now, evidence begins to surface. Digital trails, behavioral patterns, connections between locations. And then, the truth becomes undeniable. Denise Huskins was telling the truth. Every word, every detail, every terrifying moment. But by the time this realization sets in, the damage is already done. Her reputation is shattered. Erin's life is torn apart. And the people who were supposed to protect them publicly accuse them instead. As the case unfolds, the focus shifts again. Now it's no longer, did this happen? It becomes, how did we get it so wrong? Investigators piece together Muller's movements. They connect the second attack to him. They link his methods back to Denise's case. And slowly, reluctantly, authorities begin to reverse their position. But the reversal isn't loud. It isn't immediate. It isn't enough. Because trust, once broken, doesn't come back easily. And Denise is still left with something far heavier than fear. She has to prove that she was never lying. Meanwhile, Muller is still out there. And the question now becomes even more disturbing. If he hadn't attacked again, would the truth have ever been discovered? Would Denise have remained a suspect forever? End of part 3, cliffhanger. If the truth only came out because another victim was targeted, what does that say about the system? Comment below. Do you think justice depends too much on chance, or should this case have been solved from the beginning? By the time the truth finally surfaces, it doesn't feel like justice. It feels like damage control, because now there is no denying it. The evidence points clearly to one man, Matthew Muller. He isn't a theory anymore. He isn't a possibility. He is the answer. Investigators begin to reconstruct everything. And what they uncover is terrifying. Muller wasn't improvising. He was executing a plan. He studied his targets. He selected locations carefully. He understood how to control fear. He used pre-recorded messages. He used goggles to blind victims. He used drugs to weaken resistance. This wasn't chaos. It was strategy. And Denise Huskins had described all of it. From the very beginning, everything she said matched the evidence, the restraints, the voice commands, the movement between locations, the psychological manipulation, even the detail that confused police the most. The calmness of the attacker turned out to be one of the most accurate clues. Because Mueller wasn't panicked. He wasn't reckless. He was controlled. And that's what made him dangerous. When authorities finally confront the reality of the case, the shift is undeniable. Denise is no longer a suspect. Aaron is no longer a liar. They are victims. But by now, the damage has spread far beyond the investigation. Their names had already been dragged through headlines. Their story had already been dismissed publicly. And even when the truth comes out, not everyone believes it. Because once people hear hoax, it's hard to replace that with truth. Mueller is eventually arrested, charged, and brought to court. The evidence against him is overwhelming. He pleads guilty, and he is sentenced to decades in prison. But even that doesn't feel complete. Because this case was never just about the crime. It was about what happened after. Denise and Aaron take legal action, not against the attacker, but against the system that failed them. They file a lawsuit against the police department in Vallejo. And the outcome is significant. A settlement is reached. Millions paid. But money doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't erase the accusations. It doesn't erase the public humiliation. It doesn't erase the moment they were told that their trauma wasn't real. And that's what makes this case different. Because the crime wasn't just the kidnapping. It was the disbelief, the refusal to listen, the rush to judgment, the need for a simple explanation instead of a true one. And now, years later, this case still raises uncomfortable questions, not just about one man, but about the system designed to protect people. Because if Denise hadn't survived, if another victim hadn't come forward, if Mueller hadn't made one mistake, would the truth have ever come out? Or would this story have stayed buried as a hoax? Direct hit debate points. So here's what I want to know from you. 1. Do you think the sentence given to Matthew Mueller was true justice or not enough for what he did? 2. Should the police be held personally accountable for publicly accusing victims without full evidence? 3. How do you rebuild trust after being publicly labeled a liar in a case like this? 4. Do you think cases like this make other victims afraid to come forward? 5. What's more dangerous, an intelligent criminal or a system that refuses to admit it's wrong? Drop your answers in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and I want to hear what you think because this case doesn't have easy answers. Clapperboard final powerful CTA. A woman was kidnapped, drugged, and taken from her home. She survived. She told the truth. And instead of being protected, she was accused. Publicly. Nationally. The man who did it lived freely. Because the system chose the wrong story. And even when the truth came out, the damage couldn't be undone. Cases like this change how people see justice. They expose cracks in the system. They remind us that being right isn't always enough if no one believes you. If you want more cases like this, where the truth is more disturbing than fiction, subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss tomorrow's case at 7:30 p.m. Comment your location below. Answer the questions. And tell me, what would you have done if no one believed you?